As the new year gets underway, many voters will turn their attention to the latest political maneuverings in Georgia. Worryingly, it feels like déjà vu from the 2016 presidential primary season. Late last year, the executive committees of county Republican parties in 2 Georgia counties took steps that make Joseph Stalin look like a champion for democracy. Moves that would get the full support of Stacey Abrams. The party bosses in Chattooga and Pickens counties changed the local party rules to set up what they're calling qualifying committees. Now here's how it works. Any candidate who wants to run for a county-level office under the Republican banner in the general election has to win the party primary. But with these bylaw changes, the candidate must first get the green light from this committee. These small committees then vote in secret, and if a hopeful candidate doesn't secure a majority, well, their name doesn't even make it on the primary ballot. So, in Chattooga and Pickens County, primary voters would never even get the chance to evaluate them. You might be asking yourself, who came up with this idea? Good question. Enter a group known as the Georgia Republican Assembly, or the GRA. This isn't their first rodeo. They tried to pull a similar stunt to change the rules at the state level, but it flopped at the state GOP convention last year. But, undeterred, they're back at it, this time targeting local party bylaws, which they know are a bad idea. Just listen to what Alex Johnson said last year about the prospect of a small group of people having such power.
You could bribe them with jobs, you could bribe them with money, you could give business to their families, and it would be trivially easy to do that with a group as small as the state committee. Well, think about the money, think about the representatives on there, and realize that, it may make it sound more efficient to do it with a smaller group, but that suddenly makes those positions a lot more valuable. And when I say valuable, I'm not meaning valuable as in, just like, oh, it's a nice prestigious thing. I mean, it can make people money. And when you look at the RNC, you have to look no further than the RNC to see how there's a lot of self-interest that can be involved if a small group of people is controlling either a lot of money or a lot of, like the ability to have politicians on or off the ballot, which is why we need it to be the state convention.
Let's call this what it is. A shameless attempt by a small group of insiders and party bosses to hijack the party's nomination process. They think they know better than the Republican voters. It's a move that effectively strips Republican primary voters of their right to evaluate candidates and choose the party's nominees for the general election. This isn't just a minor procedural tweak. It's a full frontal assault on the First Amendment rights of association of every individual Republican primary voter. We vividly saw this playbook in 2016. Remember the relentless efforts to stop Donald Trump in the primary?
Donald Trump and his team are on the attack, angry over what he calls a corrupt system and a long list of problems at the Colorado State Republican Convention. Mark Stewart's here with another war of words on the campaign trail, Mark.
And it's a war that's taking place on Twitter at around 5 o'clock today. Ted Cruz sending out this tweet with the hashtag whining isn't winning, a response to Trump's loss here in Colorado. And the back and forth doesn't stop here. What happened at the state Republican convention?
There's being so much pressure, like in Colorado, which was a total fix.
Still has Donald Trump talking tonight.
The people all wanted to vote. They took away their votes. It's the biggest political story out there.
Of Colorado, where they frankly just get all of these delegates, and it's not a system. There was no voting. I didn't go out there to make a speech or anything.
Trump. It's crazy. It'd be nice if you could just go out and vote. But it's a rigged system. It's realized. And then you had in Colorado where they did a poll and it showed Trump was going to win the poll, right? And they said, we don't want to go and vote, so let's take the vote away from the people and let's the bosses pick it. And So, again, I want to thank everybody. It's really nice to win the delegates with the votes. It's really nice. Impossible to catch us. Nobody should take delegates and claim victory unless they get those delegates with voters and voting. And that's what's going to happen. And you watch, because the people aren't going to stand for it. It's a crooked system. It's a system that's rigged. And we're going to go back to the old way. It's called you vote and you win.
The party bosses and big wigs tried everything to prevent him from getting the nomination. Now, in Chattooga and Pickens County, a small group of party insiders and the Georgia Republican Assembly have thrown off any pretense of respect for primary voters. they've boldly announced their plans to be the self-anointed gatekeepers, saving the party from what they condescendingly call low-information voters. This statement is not just condescending. It's a glaring admission of their plan to sideline Republican voters. This is about the fundamentals of the party. Who gets to decide the nominees? Is it the people, Republican voters, or is it a select group of insiders making decisions behind closed doors in the secrecy of smoke-filled backrooms? Let's not sugarcoat this. Donald Trump overcame the efforts to strip Republican voters of their rights in 2016. Will the local party bosses and the Georgia Republican Assembly trying to do the same thing be successful this year? That, too, is ultimately a decision the people must step up and decide.